top. As soon as he reached the massive wooden gate of the house, Bauji would loudly clear his throat, which was a signal to everyone in the house. Bhabi, his daughter-in-law, would quickly cover her head and face with an airy dupatta so as not to be directly seen by her father-in-law. Bhabo, his wife, and my grandmother would say her last goodbyes to the Khanna ladies, who would quietly slip out of the back gate after an hour of tea and gossip. Tara, his eldest daughter, would go to the kitchen and put on water for tea. Big Uncle, his stylish son, would go to his room and change for tennis. The grandchildren knew that it was the last round of the dice before scores would be tallied in the afternoon game of Partition. Bauji had other uses for his harsh, grating cry. When he cleared his throat in his office, it was a signal to his client that the interview was over, much as in a government office the bureaucrat signals the end of an interview by noisily pulling back his chair. Occasionally, in the middle of an interrogation, he would suddenly strike terror in the witness's heart with the same piercing, strident sound as he deliberately cleared his throat. Bauji was a Punjabi corruption of the Bengali Babuji. It meant a man of Western learning, specifically someone who had learnt the English language. The word had not yet acquired its pejorative connotation of a petty clerk, and grandfather was happy with it, since it had a sense of honor attached to it. As we sat drinking tea on cane chairs in the veranda, Bauji would talk of his latest case in court. Big Uncle would sometimes interrupt with an appreciative remark on the quality of the hunchback's sweets. "Today the hunchback has used just the right amount of sugar and milk," he would say. Everyone would agree, and Bauji would continue, not noticing the interruption. The children were not allowed to drink tea. Instead, we got flavored sweet milk diluted with ice and water. Once in a while, as a treat, we were allowed to drink colored soda water from bottles which had a marble on top. One day, much to our horror, Bauji did not bring sweets. Instead, he brought fruit. Immediately the whole house rose in revolt. Bauji eventually won the day as he brought out all his legal tricks, and by the end of the evening persuaded us that sweets were bad for health. And so the house reluctantly switched to eating fruit in the afternoons. He would bring mangoes, lychees and chikus in the summer, apples in the autumn, and oranges and maltas in the winter. Slowly the air began to smell differently, but for months on end we talked nostalgically about the hunchback's sweets. Conversation was the great pastime in Bauji's house. If two people were together at home, they would not read or work or go to the club and play sports. They would sit down with a cup of tea and talk. If there were three, so much the better. And they talked endlessly about people, who was doing what, where, to whom. They could talk for hours about people they had never met. Around 5 in the afternoon, Bauji's friends came to play bridge. Bauji would go downstairs to a secluded part of the main courtyard, separated by a brick screen and filled with flower pots and surrounded by jasmine shrubs. There the men played and smoked the hookah. Soon after came the family barber, and he gave each bridge player a shave. He even obliged with a haircut if anyone was willing. He worked skillfully, and the bridge game was never disturbed while he performed. One hot July evening in 1942, this peaceful routine was suddenly interrupted as Chachi, my grandmother's aunt, burst into the house. She was tall, erect, and 70, and she wore her white hair in a bun at the back. "Hari Om, Hari Om," said Chachi, invoking the gods as she entered the house. "It's Chachi!" exclaimed Babo from above. "Of course, it's